Welcome back to Jewelry Making Made Easy by Ellen. Today I wanted to show you another option for memory wire. There are so many things that you can do with memory wire. Now this one bracelet that I did, I've sold a ton of kits and the beads to go with it. It's a very popular bracelet. Actually, over the 8 years that I was in the flea market, I sold, I couldn't even begin to count, hundreds, maybe even thousands of these bracelets. But I've also made and sold a lot with this tubing. This is jewelry tubing, and it's a lot less expensive than the tubes. It's $2.99 for 5 yards of it. The camera's over here, Ellen. Every time I move this camera, I forget that I've done it. It comes in black and brown. Actually, I've seen it in other colors, but I really don't like the colors. They're kind of tacky and cheap looking, but these make very pretty bracelets and for pennies. So, and also, when I made these bangles, I first used a 2.25 inch memory wire is what I usually use, like to make these bracelets. But they just did not feel like a bangle. They just seemed too tight. So I'll show you that one. Then I decided that I was going to use the 2.5 inch, which is a larger one. Here's the one that was 2.25 inches. For some strange reason, it looks way different and too tight. I have an average wrist, and normally the 2.25 inch diameter is perfect. It's not tight. There's a little room for movement. But using this tubing, as I did on this design, it seemed to me to be too tight. So, therefore, as I said, that is really squishing against my wrist. I decided to use the 2.5 inch diameter, and it's amazing what a 1/4 inch diameter on the wire makes a difference. But I'll put this one on again. Feels very comfortable, lots of movement, and that's what a bangle should be. Should be able to spin a little bit. So with that said, we'll get started. Now this one I made with 4mm Swarovski crystal and some bead caps and a couple of shiny leaf charms. And this one, I have had these beads for so long, I'm really not too sure what they are. They are stone. I believe they're red jasper. And they are red jasper rondelles, and then the same bead caps but facing in another direction. Oh, and this one I messed up, so I need to take it apart. Anyway, let's get started. I'm only going to make one round for the bracelet just to show you the design. And like I said, it's 2.5 inch memory wire, not 2.25 inch. So as the other ones, we'll start with the tools, of course. We need a memory wire cutter. You I'm sure have heard before, if you watched my other video, that you cannot use a regular side cutter. You have to have a really strong memory wire cutter or any kind of a strong cutter, because your regular, when you get one, wire cutter will break or chip. You can't use this kind of a wire cutter. So, and you'll need a round nose plier and a scissor to cut the tubing. Now I've pre-cut the tubes for my bracelets, and like I said, I'm only going to do one turn, but just a little hint about cutting the tubing. You've got your 15 feet, 5 yards, 15 feet of this. You you'll measure off whatever it is. This one I used 2.5 inches, this one I used 2 inches. Whatever you prefer, whatever design and whatever beads you're going to make, but this one is 2.5 inches, so I took You take the piece that you cut, hold it next to tip to tip, and straighten it out before you cut the other one, because if you cut it on a curve, they come out different sizes, just like that. So that's fairly easy. And like I said, comes in black and brown, and I did a design for each one of them. I'm going to actually do the brown for starters, and if you've seen my other video, I told you this is a very strong wire. It's hard to turn if you don't have the right angle. So what I do is I hold my round nose plier, my finger is in the middle with my palm face up, and then I turn it to the right. I grab the wire with a tiny little bit of wire sticking out, because if you put it right at the edge and try to turn it, it's going to slip off. So just leave a little bit of wire hanging out, make your circular motion 3/4 of the way for the loop, grab your charm, in this case it's a heart, and then close up that loop nice and tight so your charm does not fall off. Now the pattern on this bracelet, I start with one of my stone rondelles, then a bead cap facing towards that rondelle, another bead cap facing away from that rondelle, and if you don't pay attention to which way they're facing, like I did here, they're both facing the same direction. No big deal, I'll take it apart. And then add another stone. Now I put a 3mm round, because I do like rounds next to the rubber tubing. That's just me, you may not. And I'm ready for another set. So I'm using a 3mm round, a jasper rondelle, or any kind of round rondelle, or a round bead is fine. Take my bead cap facing, that looks like two of them stuck together. Take my bead cap facing the bead, then another one facing away from the bead, because it's going to be facing the new bead, and another rondelle, and another 3mm round. Push them all together. We're ready for another tube. And I'm repeating the pattern with a 3mm round, a rondelle, a bead cap facing the rondelle, a bead cap facing away from the rondelle, another rondelle, and another 3mm round. And ready for my last tube. And since this is only going to be a single, not a triple, I'm only using 3 tubes. I think there's actually 9 tubes on here. And then my last set of beads will be a 3mm round, my rondelle, my bead cap facing the rondelle, bead cap facing away from the rondelle so that it is sitting on the next rondelle, And I did not put a 3mm round on either end. I think the 3mm round is a little bit small to make that loop on the end secure so the charms don't fall off. That's why I didn't continue the pattern on the ends. Okay, so here we have the end. I have a lot of excess wire. I use my finger as a gauge. The width of my finger is about perfect for me for the size that I want for the loop. So, and when you're cutting memory wire or anything else, you either cover it so it doesn't pop up in your eye, or face it down so that it falls away from you. Then take my round nose plier again. I put my index finger in the center, gives me leverage, holding my palm up, grabbing that memory wire with just a little bit of wire sticking out. Make my 3/4 turn and hang another charm. Oops. And close that loop up nice and tight so our charm does not fall off. So there's the single version, which is just as cute. I like thick bracelets. Tongue-tied. I think they get tangled. No. I just like the way they look. Now I'll do an example just for the pattern in case you're going to do the kit. I'm sure that you have an idea of how to make these with tubing. You can design it with any kind of beads you want, cut them at any length that you want. I just seem to think that the 2 inches or the 2.5 inches is perfect spacing, that they kind of sit next to each other. If you don't want them to sit next to each other, you could stagger the lengths of the tubing just to make it a little different. Now the black one, I'm just going to cut off a small piece here to show you what the pattern is. This is just a little bit more than 1 loop. Again, holding the end of the memory wire with my palm up, a little bit of wire sticking out, make a curve, and I'm going to put my charm on there. In this case I used a shiny silver leaf. Put that on there. And here I did use a 5mm round because I think that is big enough to support that loop so that the charm does not fall off. And then, what did I do here? Then I just put a bead cap facing away from it. You could do it in any direction that you want. That was just the design I had in mind at the time. And add on my rubber tubing. Since it's the bottom of the bracelet and I'm using Swarovski crystals, I kind of save them for the top. Okay, so our design on this bracelet is 1 bead cap on each side of a 4mm Swarovski bicone, and the bead caps are facing away from the bicone. So I'm putting my bead cap on with the back end, with the front end, the wide end, facing the memory wire. My 4mm bicone, and then my bead cap, the back of it facing the bicone, so it will again be facing the rubber tubing. and just repeat that pattern of having my bead cap face the tubing. Put a 4mm bicone and another bead cap facing away from the bicone. Add another piece of tubing. And finish it off like I finished the 3 loop one with a bead cap facing the tubing, 5mm round. Now imagine that you've done that 3 times. And one of the great things about rubber tubing is if you have cut your memory wire just a little bit too small and you don't have enough room to make your loop, let's make believe there's not very much room here to make the loop, I'm pushing that up and holding it. That's kind of a small piece to make a loop. Well, the rubber tubing, if you push on it, kind of scrunches up against itself, and it will give you the room that you need. I actually do have plenty of room, but here, I'm going to cut it short so you can see. Okay, what I normally need is a finger's width to make my loop. That's where I would cut it. Well, I'm going a little further, and I'm not leaving myself very much room at all. So here we are with not enough room to make a loop. Grab my round nose plier and pull. That rubber tubing kind of scrunches itself up and you can't even see it, giving you plenty of room. Say you wanted to add another couple of beads even. When I let it go, it's back up here. So I'm just going to pull it enough to give me the space that I need to make that loop. 3/4 of the way. Hang my other shiny silver leaf, close it up tight, and like I said, I like that round 5mm bead for that loop to lean on. Kind of secures the leaf or charm from falling off. So there we have 2 more ideas. That's really very inexpensive. Like I said, $2.99 for 5 yards. That's 15 feet. And on this bracelet, what is there? This one, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 inches of memory wire. At $2.99 for 15 feet, 5, 10, 15, 2.99 divided by 15, 2.99 divided by 15 feet is almost 20 cents a foot. Divided by 12 inches is $0.015 an inch. So what did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times $0.015. It costs pennies plus a few beads. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned. I will be back planning again to continue the wedding jewelry season series, since it's still, as far as I know, wedding season, and there's nothing better than being able to make, if you have having a wedding or you're a bridesmaid, buying jewelry for 6, 7, 8 bridesmaids is very expensive. If you're going to make it yourself, you save a bundle. Have a wonderful, blessed day, and stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe.